So yeah, that's some of the issues that I dealt with living with Saif ul Haq. But eventually he did blow up. Like I was saying earlier, he pointed firearms at me. He threatened my life. He bragged about knowing people in high places, including General Tersini. He bragged about knowing the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and how he was going to rob me of my security clearance too. And just as Saif ul Haq, the special needs kid, was bragging, those people really did resurface in my life. And you might wonder, how does somebody who is literally intellectually disabled, how is that person made to be a general? And to that, I'll tell you that basically, um, his parents pay bribes and stuff, and they brag about having dealerships and vast amounts of real estate, and they're able to do this and that to anybody they want. And as a matter of fact, when Safe was exploding on me for not cleaning up his toilet that had literal poop on the toilet seat, because that's how little this guy is like able to live with himself. He wanted me to clean that up for him, and he just exploded when I was like, no, you're gonna have to clean that up yourself, buddy. Like, we had separate bathrooms. He had his own bathroom, and I had the bathroom that all of the guests of his home would use, right? Like, I didn't have that many friends over, but he would have people over nightly to smoke blunts with him, and they would get really stupid and really loud. And I was a full time student, but you know what? I was there to take care of the community special needs kid. And like I said, all of his friends, all of my friends vouched for me because me and him hail from the same community. He goes to Arizona. He went to Arizona Cultural Academy. Some of my siblings went there. My siblings knew him, including my brother, who was conspiring against me as well, including my oldest sister Tasneem Halloum too, including my sister Nur Halloum, whose father-in-law is a general of war games, who was working with General Charles Brown to screw me over. And so it's not like this is some sort of um, this was a coordinated effort, and Saif ul Haq admitted to be involved, and he admitted to me who else was involved as well. And so that was really important information for me to know. And all of his friends vouched for me. We would hang out in the backyard, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, we think you'd be good for him. We all know you. We've hung out with you before. Uh, you're not living a double life. Uh, you had a Jack and Coke while we were all hanging out. It's not like you're hiding the fact that you drink. Saif ul Haq drinks and smokes too. He hides the liquor in the bottom of his cabinet because his parents are visiting, and so all that kind of stuff. And it was just like, all right, cool. Let's do this. And I lived with Saif ul Haq for a while. And like I told you earlier, eventually he blew up. He wasn't able to handle it, and he admitted to me that him and all his very high-ranking friends were gonna screw me over. And at the time, I was very much aware that I was up for a Yankee White security clearance. I mean, I was dealing with torture training in the military. It's not the kind of stuff they give you unless you're going to be working some sort of special forces, unless they're going to have you around some sort of important things, and they want you to be able to keep your mouth shut and stay strong in case somebody tries to torture it out of you. Um, and so, anyways, besides the fact that General Tersini had me raped during that process, and she was trying her best to cover it up, even when I went to the on base place to report it, she had them make sure not to help me and whatnot. She sent her son to live upstairs of me in my dorm. I mean, literally upstairs of me right now is Ethan Tersini stomping his feet, and that's just like a nightly occurrence. And he tries to harass his way into robbing me of my security clearance. He tries to pretend he's up in arms against Saif ul Haq when really they're working together. It's a whole mess. But so yeah, eventually I moved out from Saif ul Haq's place. I got a restraining order against him. The judge ordered that the home I have exclusive living rights to the home, even though he had me helping him pay a mortgage. And he tried raising the rent on me when he found out that I had sexual assault compensation on the way. But even that turned out to be a fake court case, and they were just going to withhold the security clearance compensation and the sexual assault and rape compensation until Sayyaf Abdullah and Saif ul Haq were able to put me under a conservatorship. And the person that adjudicates that kind of stuff is General Charles Brown. And he was bribed with prostitutes from Sayyaf Abdullah, and he was also very much involved with Jim Puhek. He was involved in pork barreling billions of dollars into my security clearance. and and he also had been trying to fuck me over. He was president at the mental hospitals where my sister would put on a police uniform and have me sent, where my sister's husband would put on a sheriff's uniform. Uh, Andrew Puhek would put on a sheriff's uniform and have me sent down there as well. And so these people were like stalking me, they were abusing me, they were torturing me, and they were falsely imprisoning me. And Saif ul Haq had a hand in it, and he admitted to me that he had a hand in it. He said that that whole thing was his project, and I owed him all that money, and that I should pay him for giving me a security clearance. And it's like, dude, you work for the government. That means you work for the people. If you issuing somebody a security clearance, you shouldn't go and try to rob that person of the compensation that they're getting for all the damages that you're intentionally causing them for getting a security clearance. So, anyways, I moved away. Like I mentioned in my other videos, I went to California. My brother and his family, his in law family, tried to set up another scam where they had a little false company called Tests Assured, where I would do, supposedly, I was going to be doing quality assurance for Facebook. They were buddies with Mark Zuckerberg. They had him send them a VR headset that was like still proprietary and wasn't supposed to be released yet. And that way they could pretend that I was going to be working for this company and doing quality assurance. But in reality, they were just setting me up for a fake company. They were trying to get me to spend as much money as I could on hotels. Thankfully, I was able to convince my brother to put up the money for the hotels until I was certain that his brother-in-law's company was going to pay for it. They never did. And they, in fact, withheld my paycheck for several weeks until I was like, look, you guys got to pay me or we're going to court. They finally sent me my first and last paycheck, right? And they were claiming that I wasn't submitting workplace materials, but all the data was there on my laptop. It's like, no, I very much did send you the things you asked for, and all of the information is right here. And I was very studious about that job. I was excited. It was a new tech job, you know. I would dress up every day, even when I was working remote, just to like get my head in the zone. And it turned out it was all a fraud. And my brother was working with Saif ul Haq, and Saif ul Haq would come to the mosque where I had to accompany my brother every day, so I'm not at home alone with his wife. It's a cultural thing. You're just not supposed to do that. So I would go to my brother for each prayer at the mosque, and I would have to hang out with him there while he prayed, and and Saif ul Haq would always be there, and Saif ul Haq would be wearing different disguises, and my brother would help him out the same way he helped him Saif ul Haq screw me over in Arizona. Turns out he was helping him screw me over in California, and at that point, all the pieces came together for me. I was like, my brother has been trying to take advantage of the fact that he feels like he could use me for being special needs, as did the same way Saif ul Haq was trying to take advantage of me, and I just wasn't cool with it. And I moved away from California. I moved away from his in-law family, and I just made my own life, traveling the country, working odd jobs. You know, I worked at Jimmy John's. Um, I worked at an ice cream shop. I worked at a cookie shop. You know, I just work, job, get by while I went to school, and enjoyed my life. And you know, I've been doing that ever since. More recently, however, I moved over here to Flagstaff, where I got a dorm room. It appears Saif ul Haq was able to bribe the NAU housing folks to have a room with me. He now goes by the pseudonym of Bao. He pretends he's from Vietnam. The other day, he gassed me, and he had his girlfriend or wife rape me. She goes by Viola and Violet ul Haq. That's her name, and she gassed me and raped me, and that has been an issue as I traveled the country too. She has traveled me from state to state and done exactly the same thing. Nicole Giampiano also traveled around from state to state. She followed me all the way up to Idaho and all the way back down to Arizona as I traveled the country. And uh, like I said, at one point I caught her gassing me, and I woke up from the anesthesia that was ineffectively put on me, and I found my arms tied to the headboard of my bed, and I found my pants down and her raping me. And that lady had herpes, and I took an STD test a couple of times after that, and thank goodness it came back negative. But those are the kinds of people from the intelligence community, from the military, that I was forced to live with, that I was corralled to live with, that jobs that I was made to have that would later sabotage my sex life and spy on me. All of that was done through Saif ul Haq and Saif Abdullah and folks like General Tersini and Colonel Bauer and General Charles Brown, who is being blackmailed for being seduced by a prostitute. And all of these folks are using all of that shit against me. And the reason they're doing it is because I'm some sort of big project to them, a big embezzlement project. Normally, when you're getting a security clearance, it shouldn't cost hundreds of billions of dollars for an individual Yankee white security clearance. Sure, sometimes it costs several million, sometimes it costs tens of millions of dollars, and if a rape occurred, as had occurred in my case, maybe it costs hundreds of millions of dollars. But what these people did is they made sure to incur as many damages to me as possible, and they made sure to make the security clearance process take as long as possible. We're talking 10 years at this point. Since high school, Major Rebecca Bauer had been harassing me and stalking me and trying to set me up for failure on video. Um, and that had been happening for 10 years, and she didn't know that I recognized her when I moved in with her, but I noticed who she was. The same way Mike Hughes didn't think I would recognize him when he came back over to Max Q Technology after I had just been working with him at Pure Logic Industries. The same way Saif ul Haq wears disguises and stalks me across the country, which I have documented, and has his woman rape me, and he sexually assaults me, and he physically assaults me too. Yep, just the other day, he was at the foot of my bed in my dorm room, and he stabbed my foot. And just to prove to me that he was an assassin and he was in charge, and my money is supposed to be his, right? And so that's who these folks are. That's how long this process has taken, and that's only some of the factoids about how all these folks tie into each other. They have been working together for so long. Jacqueline Braden, to this day, stalks me. Just the other day, she was at Hero Sushi with Joshua Rodriguez, and they were ordering sushi and trying to act all buddy buddy with me because after a certain point, they quit on trying to rip me off for the security clearance, and now they're hoping that I could feign a friendship so that they could use that relationship against me in court and put me under a legal conservatorship. And you might say, Mo, you keep saying legal conservatorship. What does that mean? Well, effectively, they want me to be put under a guardianship so that they could rob me. They want me to be put under a guardianship so that they can say, well, we need to take care of his finances because Saif ul Haq has him on video saying that he's autistic and life is hard. But in reality, what they want to do is siphon the finances from the security clearance compensation that I'm owed. And I have already filled out the form and given it to the Air Force saying I would like my compensation now. I would like the sexual harassment and rape compensation now. They have not paid that forward back to me. What they're doing, what General Charles Brown admitted to doing, what his subordinates admitted to doing, is the fact that since he is the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, it is up to him whether or not a security clearance is adjudicated. Although I am qualified, although I am so much more patriotic than them, that I'm unwilling to embezzle money from the taxpayers on their behalf, although I'm more qualified for them for this security clearance, they will not adjudicate it, which means they will not finalize and give me the security clearance until they are able to take ownership and control of my life. And the reason they want to do that, like I told you earlier, is for years and years they've been working on crippling my finances. These people that followed me around the country, they would buy out entire companies that I worked at, knowing that there's hundreds of billions of dollars at the end of the tunnel. They had no problem spending millions of dollars buying out companies and firing me intentionally. All sorts of things like that. I mean, they would go to that length. They would go to the lengths of rape. Saif Abdullah several times has attempted to murder me, as has Saif ul Haq. And he even bribes his way into living in the same dorm apartment as me. Not the literal dorm room, but the dorm apartment. And what he does, Saif ul Haq does, the links he goes to is he keeps it the same way I lived with him before, and he would put filthy things back in the cabinet. I got footage of him doing the same exact thing in this dorm room. He has a very hard time cleaning up after himself. He doesn't have a hard time, he just doesn't care. I mean, we have an ant problem because he leaves grains of rice everywhere. He leaves his dishes dirty in the sink. He puts his dirty dishes where we put the clean dishes to drain. I mean, the guy is so incompetent intentionally just to make my life hell, and he's living right here with me. And that doesn't include the fact that He's involved in anesthetizing me so that his wife can rape me. That doesn't involve the fact that he physically assaults me too. And so I just think every American should know where all of their taxpayer dollars are going. When they go, hundreds of billions of dollars for one security clearance, I wonder how that could happen. Who do they have to thank? They have to thank General Charles Brown. They have to thank the Ulhuck family, whose entire family has been involved in trying to screw me over and trying to pretend that is some sort of war game exercise. Another person they have to thank is General Tersini, who literally went to the lengths of having me raped at the black site where I was being trained for a torture exercise. Um, and she covered it up so much as to put up a fake court case for the sexual assault. And if that court case wasn't fake, well, guess what? She has refused to pay me my sexual assault compensation that I am owed for what I endured under her purview in the security clearance process. Not only was I raped, but she tortured me afterwards for wanting to report it. She refused to let me have food for reporting it. She kicked me out of the military and sent me to Sayyaf Abdullah's security clearance division within the Navy so that he could process my security clearance and he could be in charge of embezzling the money. And also involved is my sister, like I said, and the general of war games. All of these people are just downright filthy. They'll have their own children live above me and try to seduce me just to try to rob me. And you you might call any of this a game. The fact of the matter is, at this point, it's not a joke. I mean, lives are on the line. My life has been threatened several times. Sayef Abdullah had Viola Ulhaq put fentanyl in my pills. Saif Ulhaq comes and stabs me in the middle of the night to prove that he could poison me whatever he wants to. Um, he is absolutely god awful to live with, you know? Like, none of this is some sort of game. None of this is some sort of resilience exercise. What it is corruption all the way to the core. And a lot of these people deserve prison time. And they go to the lengths of shutting down my phone while I'm filming footage, which happened just earlier. They go to the lengths of um, deleting footage that I have compiled. Several times I post a page about the Tersinis and what they have done to me. Several times I make a post about the Bernankes and what they are doing to me. The same Bernanke family that used to run the Treasury Department. And they will have that evidence deleted. Sayef Abdullah had evidence deleted of my sister wearing a police uniform in front of the Carver Tempe Police Department. He had that footage deleted of her wearing a police uniform and arresting me while going by a pseudonym. Um, he had that footage deleted and modified with AI military technology and cyber weapon systems because he knew that it was a smoking gun that if my own family was wearing a police uniform and arresting me and sending me to a mental hospital, that Sayaf Abdullah and Ahmed Abdullah and their family friends from ACA run, Muhammad Hassan was wearing a nurse tech uniform down at uh, a the mental health institute where they forcefully sent me because I dared report them to the police for stalking me and threatening my life several times. And so it's just this whole mess, and the rot goes all the way to the top. And I think we ought to work on it. And I think it's very important that I document it because at this point, these people are trying to kill me. And they're saying, yeah, we know we're trying to kill you, but if you retaliate for us trying to kill you and you dare lay a finger on us, we're definitely going to make sure we kill you with explosives or we're going to gun you down with a machine gun. And Sayef Abdullah and Ahmed Abdullah are like, we have a huge arsenal. Do you know how rich our family is? We're billionaires. Our entire community is billionaires. And it's just absolutely disgusting. And I think the world should know that one Yankee white security clearance that's supposed to be for folks that are going to be working amongst the president of the United States, for folks that are going to be working in the military parts of the executive branch, where absolute discretion and absolute loyalty is important. Those kinds of folks are taking advantage of the fact that they can keep that information classified and they're using it to embezzle shit tons of money. And you know what? I wish I was happy about hundreds of billions of dollars, but when I think about children not getting school lunches, when I think of Medicare not being free for all people, when I think of people with diabetes dying because they couldn't get their insulin, when I think of people with cancer dying because they couldn't afford their health care, when I think about things like that, um, I just don't think I should have been tortured for hundreds of billions worth of dollars. I just don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's cool either. And you know, it's not like they involved me and they said, Mo, you're working on bringing this money home to us. No, they are absolutely trying to rob me of all of it, despite everything that I've been through, despite the fact that that compensation is what their lawyers calculated to be damages that were dealt to me. Uh, Through years and years of torture and abuse, unsanctioned military exercises, torture with military devices, sexual torture with military devices by folks like General Charles Brown, all of these things they designate compensation for uh, with the intent of clawing all that money back. They're not doing it because they want me to be the best, most hardened troop, which I think I could be. Um, I'm really loyal to the service that I intended to do to this country, but they're just making a huge joke of it, and they're just making a huge scam of it. I just think the world should know, and that's why I'm documenting this. And uh, there you are. Wish me luck and wish me a long, happy life. Unfortunately, these people are out for my life because they feel that they are entitled to the money. They're trying to turn it into a little Israel versus Palestine thing. They're trying to turn it into a Americans versus Arabs thing. But at the end of the day, what everybody is after is money. Sayyaf Abdullah himself, a Palestinian, has been working with Israelis for the longest time to try to get me robbed, including Ethan Tersini, just upstairs of me. Uh, a self-admitted Orthodox Jew and very Israeli person who was making racist remarks to me just the other day when I told him to comment and try to, stick to acceptable politics. He's been sneaking around my window just outside here because he lives upstairs with me. He likes to play secret agent man, um, and he's been spying on me through my window. Um, and he sent me a nude photograph the other day because they try to seduce me with the woman they send to rape me, including Nicole Giampiano, including Lilia Bernanke, including Viola Olhuk, all of these women who they sent to rape me after anesthetizing me. They're trying to get me to marry them. They're trying to falsify a marriage with them, falsify a relationship with them, so that those women could be entitled to a portion of the compensation, which they intend to share. But what they really intend is for the woman to marry me and pretend that she's in love with me so that she could run off with half. And so, what I deal with on a day to day basis is corruption, bribery, and all sorts of scandalous acts, including, high level officials being bribed with prostitutes from Sayyaf Abdullah's brothel so that they could attempt to set the odds in their favor so they can rob me. My own family members are also involved. They really felt like, oh, well, gosh, that's a lot of money. And so, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And so, although I might be a sibling of Nur Haloum, although I might be a sibling of Ibrahim Haloum, although I might be a sibling of Tasnim Haloum, although Sausan Hamad may be my mother, although Ammar Haloum might be my father, all of these people showed me that money is more important to them than everything that I've been through. Everything I let them know has happened to me. Uh, After the rape and Saif ul Haq and my brother being informed about it, and the compensation, the hundreds of millions of dollars owed to me in compensation because of the rape and the subsequent torture, and me basically being the Little Rock Nine, a Palestinian kid in a squadron full of Jewish people that were being super racist to me and treating me like shit. After all of that, they decided that the money looked really appealing to them. And so they tried, after that rape compensation, in an attempt to go after the rape compensation, they decided they themselves would have their woman rape me and attempt to rob me through their fake companies. They tried to steal a sock from me when I was living with my brother and doing my laundry to give to Saif ul Haq to do a little, Dobby trick and say, oh, well, here's one of his socks. So Mo is responsible for Saif ul Haq pointing loaded firearms at him, and therefore we complained to the court that Saif ul Haq has a restraining order against him, and it's just all of that baloney. It's all just bad people right now, and once money gets thrown into the mix, everybody becomes so corrupt, so jaded, and so ruined. And Yeah, I just think this is very important for me to document how a lot of this information ties into each other. Obviously, this isn't every single detail. If you had every single detail, it would only feel more egregious, I promise. But until I realize what those details might be, what information I haven't covered, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning into my vlog about the Yankee White racketeering.